The hiatus is over, down to business is back like we never left. And we kicked off this episode sitting down with Wes Towers today of Uplift 360. A very, very, very important word to myself and Wes as well. And he'll tell you every reason as to why, even as to what prompted the rebrand, because that was not always the name of his business. But running a digital agency for 20 years obviously has come with a lot of evolution, a lot of change, a lot of just moving parts and moving pieces. So Wes will tell you how being based all the way in Australia, how he's adjusted, how he's adapted, and really how he loves having built a team in so many different time zones for maximum availability for all the business owners, for all the entrepreneurs, for all the creatives out there running and managing their own businesses, brands, websites, and companies. But don't just let me give it all away for you. Tap into this episode. So without further ado, enjoy episode 231. Happy client, happy business. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. This is special. Some people may not even, they may kind of be checking their microphone, checking their volume on their phone just to make sure this is really Tamar. This is really, we're in the flesh. We're making it happen. Look, I know it's been a while. I appreciate everybody for sticking with me. We've been repurposing some content. We've relocated, we moved, new job, new atmosphere, new surroundings, but the passion, the excitement, the nature is everything is all still the same. So very excited to be sitting down with Wes today. Very just, happy that we were able just to connect the way that we did. Big shout out to Pod Match, everything that Alex and Alicia are doing over there, just building a great community, a great family, and just great people. So look, Wes has a lot of insight for us today, a lot of things that he can speak to, a lot of just really just being in those trenches, just getting it from the ground. I do want to say he's joining us from Australia. So big kudos to everybody tapping in from his side, from their side of the world, just the same. But look, I'm not going to do too much. Y'all know I love the intros, but I really want Wes to take it over. This is his show. So Wes, how are you doing today?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, Tamara. And it's good to connect with you at this time of your life. And I believe there's seasons in life. So it sounds as though you're ready to ramp up this next season with the podcast. So great to catch you on this first one back, so to speak. So thanks for the opportunity.
We are ready to go. Please believe it. So no, thank you for just being so responsive, and thank you for really just taking the time to join us today. So look, I know we're going to have a range of people. We're going to have some people who know about you. We're going to have some people who know about me. We're going to have my favorite type of people, though, who probably know nothing about neither one of us, but came across this episode in some capacity. So for everybody out there that's tuning in, that's tapping in, can you just do two things for me? Can you, one, just tell us a little bit about really just do one thing. Just tell us a little bit about yourself today, and then just let us know what brought you on the Down to Business podcast.
Sure. Yeah, so Wes Towers, as you said, I'm in Australia, in a town called Geelong, just outside of Melbourne. So if there's any surfers out there, they'll probably know Bells Beach, quite a famous Bells beach down in our region. So that's not too far away. So I'm somewhere between Bells Beach and Melbourne City, if you know Australia at all. So so run a digital agency down here. It's been a wild journey. I've been running it for over 20 years now. There's been ups and downs and exciting times, terrifying times with tech and changes. It's always been a space that's evolved and changed super fast, which is keeping us on our toes, obviously, and keeping life interesting. With how you go about marketing yourself. But obviously the last few years has been dialed up a notch as well with AI and things, technology transforming the way in which we do things and what matters. Some things are becoming more important than ever before. So yeah, loving running the agency. Outside of that, I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids. The eldest is 20. He's working with me 1 day a week now, which is awesome because, when the kids get older and they move out of home and so on, you feel as though you're not going to see them anymore, but it's a massive blessing to be able to see him 1 day a week. He's working with me 1 day a week. And so we get to work together, but also have lunch on that day and so on. So the blessings of life, the seasons of life, as I mentioned before, and the other 2 kids as well. So life is exciting. It's a weird time in the world right now, but there's obviously whenever there's challenges, there's also massive opportunities for those that can position themselves. So that's what we're attempting to help our clients with.
I love that. As you said, life is good, even on the other side of the world. So that's amazing. And to really have to keep it in the family, I think that that's amazing. Something that my little brother does not know yet. And if he listens to this episode, he'll soon find out. He's gonna work for me one day. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna make this happen. I feel like I'm very much just that on person, on in front of the scene, on the camera person. He's that behind the scenes. He can put
Yeah.
together websites. He loves the coding. He's really good like with his hands and just the technical things. So I feel like if you put those two talents together, we can definitely make something happen and really take the world by storm. So, all right, I love that. So, digital agency, AI, just coming into business. Okay, so one, I really want to start with the name. I love names. I love origin stories. I love really how that came about. But why this name really sticks out to me in particular is Uplift. So Uplift is actually one of my fraternity. That's one of our cardinal principles. So I love that. I love that idea. I love that, just helping the next man, each one teach one, just making sure that somebody may not necessarily have to go through all the struggles that you did. So when coming into business, when building this agency, when really just thinking about the goals, the mantra, the mindset, the foundation that you wanted to build, how did you come up with Uplift 360? Where did that come from?
Yeah, it wasn't the initial brand of the business. It was originally called Omnific Design, but I think it was 8 or 9 years ago now that we rebranded to that because it just fit a whole lot better. Starting in business, I was really quite naive to a lot of things in business, and I didn't know precisely what the direction I would take was in the early days when I named the business initially. But when I got to a point where I realized what my true values and convictions were, and just even to hear from other people, I got the sense really clearly that having spoken to lots of clients and customers and so on, just someone mentioned briefly one day how they felt uplifted having spoken to me. I thought, wow, that's a great value. I really appreciated the compliment because it obviously triggered something in me of a core value in which I want to create an uplift in businesses as well because we're trying to grow their businesses. We're trying to get them more traffic and all that stuff and more visibility and getting more business through the door through their websites and so on. That's the business side. But more at a deeper level, I want to uplift people. I love people and I want to connect with people. And I thought, wow, that's probably the compliment that's resonated most with me. And I thought about it more completely and thought, yeah, I wanted to rebrand it because the previous name wasn't really kind of sitting well with what we were doing. So Uplift 360, so that directional piece of bringing something to a higher level, but also considering it from every angle. And that's really where it landed. So yeah, I'm glad it resonates with you too. Uh, I feel as though every interaction with a client or customer, I want them to feel uplifted in some way, whether that be that we're trying to get them more business or whether they're just having a bad day and I just want them to feel a little bit better. I mean, there's no business objective with that, but I feel as though that's part of the mission in life is to make people feel a little bit better, that they can grow a little bit faster, that they can get a little bit more done, that they can just feel better about their businesses because I'm dealing with founder-led businesses and it can be scary and overwhelming and challenging and it feels as though sometimes you've got no one to listen to you as well. So I just really resonate with that word, and I'm glad it's something you picked up on as well.
Most definitely. Yeah, I'm a big for my down to business vets, they know that I'm a big name person. I'm a big origin story person because I often really feel like that tells the story sometimes of why you may have come into business, whether you were trying to solve a problem, whether it may have just been something that you thought about. Because in hearing what you just said, it's not just really about like, yes, you're here to help other businesses, other entrepreneurs, other business owners, other people, no matter where they may be in their journey. But you also, just from a people level, you want to just be able to connect in that way. You want to just, as you said, if someone's having a bad day, if someone is just on the other side of where they need to be, you want to let them know that, hey, there's light at the end of that tunnel. There's a pot of
Yeah.
gold at the end of that rainbow, and things can come to fruition the way that you want them to someday. So yes, I'm loving every bit of that. Now I kind of want to get into the nitty gritty of your story. As I was kind of, even as you spoke to even earlier in the interview, but even now, you basically said that you came into this really with no blueprint, no foundation, no like how to manual, no really step by step direction. So did that produce any struggles early on for you? Do you feel like there were a lot of trials and tribulations? Do you feel like there was a lot of starting and stopping, a lot of falling and getting back up? Were there a lot of learning lessons early on? Did you really kind of adjust and adapt as you learned?
Yeah, definitely. There was so much learning the hard way in the early days. I mean, I'd worked in the industry in marketing for a few years before starting my own business, but realistically, I didn't learn a whole lot about business in that. I learned to do the skill in which I bring to the market, but I didn't know how to do a proposal or a client meeting. The first client meeting, first few really, I was just sweating, just so nervous and overwhelmed, and I didn't really know what to do or say. But I struggled through and got some mentors around me and joined some groups so I could learn from other people in the way in which they do things, and sort of apply some of what I saw in them into my own practice as a person, but also as a business, operational procedures, all of that stuff. So just so many lessons learned the hard way in the early days, but because it wasn't too much of a stretch because I started the business just in the evenings initially. So it was, and my day job boss was actually really encouraging me to start my own business. So as an entrepreneur himself, it was he was quite comfortable for me to build up and leave at some point. So that was really a great blessing as well. So yeah, just figured it out, and the stakes just get higher and higher. So initially, it was myself and I was married at the time, and so we had two incomes. So and I was starting just dipping my toes in, so the stakes were not too great. But then when I went full time, and then we got a mortgage, and then we ended up having kids and so on, and so the stakes just get higher and higher. I mean, the first goal was just to create an income equivalent to what I would be paid in a regular job, an employed job. So that was the first mini goal, and to get there, and then to get to the point where you're hiring team and staff, and that was a whole world of challenges as well. The first hire I got horribly wrong, and just poor leadership skills from my part, as well as there's a concept in the Bible which speaks about being wise as serpents and gentle as doves, and I lacked the wisdom. I didn't lack it. I think I didn't lack the gentleness of as doves, but I certainly think in my life in general, I lacked some wisdom in safeguarding some things and so on, and building some solid foundations. So those things came with maturity, and you adapt and grow through those seasons of life.
That's beautiful, and I love the transparency, and I really appreciate that because it really just goes to show that oftentimes, no matter where you may be, no matter what stage you're at, mistakes can happen. Mistakes will be made. As you said, you didn't have it all figured out. You may not have had the most grace in the beginning, and it also just speaks to sometimes the passion of a business owner, the passion of an entrepreneur, and especially from that transition, that crazy transition of going from your 9 to 5 and doing this also to just full time. And that's something that I love to hear with people. So when you stepped into this full time, thinking about your current situation, thinking about where you were in life, was there any apprehension? Was there nervousness? Did you kind of feel like you had a good backing and okay, I feel like I'm on solid footing and foundation. I can move forward with this. Did you kind of just go all in and you didn't look back afterwards? What was that transition like going from a 9 to 5 and doing this as well to saying, hey, this is my full time gig. This is really what I'm going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was sort of scary and challenging at the time to take the plunge. Starting a business was something I always wanted to do. Um, I heard of stories that my grandparents ran bakeries, and they would start bakeries and sell them, and move on to the next one, build it up, sell them. I really love that concept of building something that's sustainable, and people can take it further. I also noticed, observed my uncle who was running an architecture business. And so I'd spent time in his business. Um, and I saw the potential opportunities of running business. So it's something always I wanted to do, but I started so much sooner than I thought I would, simply because an opportunity presented itself. So I think this is a key aspect of life that sometimes you'll never feel ready enough, but when opportunity presents itself that will take you on the path in which you want to get to where you want to go, I think you've just got to take those opportunities and mitigate the risk as best you can, but there'll always be some level of risk, and there'll always be some level of learning as you go. I think momentum beats perfection. So what happened was, another person that I knew, a friend, he had tried to start an agency like I was wanting to do, and he'd given up. He just wasn't winning enough work. And he said, right, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm going to go and get a real job. So a 9 to 5 job. And so I said to him, well, what are you going to do with the clients you have? And he said, there's only a couple left, 2 or 3 left. You can have them if you want. Because I must have mentioned to him I wanted to one day start a business. And so I did. I took those couple of clients, and that was the start of everything. So that I'd only really worked for other people for a few years, realistically. So it was probably a little bit naive to start so young and early, but it was an opportunity that presented itself. And whilst it wasn't much, it was a starting point that I can, get started. I think that's the key in life, to get started and start moving toward your goals and objectives, because getting started is the most difficult part.
That is something that I preach so much. Just almost like just thinking about Nike and their slogan, just do it. There's no such
Yeah.
thing as perfect. There's no such, and even if you get to perfection, if you're so adamant about perfecting your start, then where do you go once you start? Do
Mm.
you give yourself room to grow? Do you give people more room to wander? Do you give yourself even the opportunity to develop? If you want to come at 100% from the beginning, well, getting to 101 might be kind of difficult. But as I speak to,
Mm.
if you start maybe at like your 70, you can get to your 72, your 75s, your 80s, that progress, and you can even motivate yourself that way, because it's nothing like just seeing your business grow. It's nothing like achieving goals and reaching those unimaginable heights in it. And once you really start to enjoy it, once you start to really get your footing, and if you're having fun with it, then it's amazing. So the fact that you even kind of came in like that, as you said, like you didn't really know what to expect per se. You had some clients, you were kind of just figuring some things out. You were sweating a little bit in the meetings, but nonetheless, you just kept the wheels turning. You just kept the bridges rolling. So I really do love to hear that. Now, something that really stood out to me, and just looking at your website and just looking at what you kind of highlight, was the importance of a website, but also just making sure that your website is more than just visually appealing. I feel like that is such a big highlight. I think that a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives, I think we can spend so much time on a website, just wanting the colors to be right, the aesthetic to be right. You want your chat bots to work. You want the things to be moving all around. You want your promo codes popping up when you get there. But are you really retaining people, or is it just something that looks good when you click it, when you scroll a little bit, when you have the mobile and the iOS version kind of compatible, and that's it? So when it comes to building out a website, when it comes to even what you have done with your website, and I encourage everybody who's listening to this to definitely check out the Uplift 360 website as a model, and as just something that you can look forward to as Wes gives his answer to this question. But when it comes to websites, do you feel as though extravagant is more important than practicality? Do you feel like it should be about, if you're sales based, you should be trying to just generate revenue and sales? What should people be really honing in on when building their website, when developing that foundation for people to look at?
Yeah, so it depends on the intention behind the website. So there's some clients who win all their work from tender. So we work with mainly construction industrial brands. Some of them are quite large businesses who would never win much work from a Google search. It's not as if they're delivering large scale projects. So it's not about being found, but it's about supporting the tenders and so on, the proposals that they have out there. So they realize people are going to check them out online. They're going to do their due diligence and check out as much resources and information as they can. So that's a website for brand purpose only, and to get some of that messaging across and to build trust and authority. But it doesn't need to do that attraction piece and the conversion optimization, because it's not for that. Those cases are rare. Most of us are on the other side of the scenario where we need to build the website so it attracts visitors, gets eyeballs on the site of the highly targeted people, but gets them to take some form of action. So a call to action. So that's the most businesses are in that camp, or at least to some degree. They might have a combination of both. So they might be doing some large scale tender processes, so they don't need to attract that's to build the brand. But the attraction and the conversion piece is what takes the most effort. And so just a beautiful design doesn't necessarily produce the outcomes that you want to produce. It's the key thing is the message behind the website, and you can design it in a way to guide people through the core messaging, because very few people will read word for word every single page on your website. Even in fact, they probably don't even read one complete page. They will scan through. Their eyes will just quickly glance through to make a rapid decision whether you're valuable to them or not. So you need to design it in a manner that guides the eye through the most critical information, and then for them to take that next step, the call to action, whether it be to request a quote or to make a phone call or booking, or whatever it is, you want to get them to do something next. What's that next logical step? And so without that, people will jump on your website and they'll check it out, but then they might go to your competitor next, because they probably, if it's a larger investment, they're probably going to do a little bit of research on a number of potential providers of that service or product. So they'll quickly go to the next site, and they might even forget about you. So you've really got to capture them then and there, and that's most of the businesses. So there's ways in which you can design the structure of the page to help guide the eye, and to get that action to take place. Without that knowledge and understanding of the user experience for a website, all you can do is design it to your own preferences, your personal style, what you like in terms of the look and feel. And that's not the way in which a customer or a client looks at your website. They're not assessing you on the beauty of your website. They're just trying to get the information and what that means to them in their world. So it can be difficult sometimes, and certainly it's a challenge right now, because with AI and vibe coding, people can quickly build a basic website for themselves. But without the substance and understanding behind the scenes of what's really going to work, they might be going down the wrong path. There was a scenario just a couple of weeks ago where the client, it was a partnership, so two directors, and I was working with the marketing manager, and the marketing manager expressed to me that the directors were keen to have some pretty sophisticated animation. Now that's super fun and cool for us to work on. It's exciting and we can certainly do it. But oftentimes that'll create a bad user experience, and therefore there's less conversion, and therefore there's less business and less return on investment. But the directors weren't aware of that. So we need to explain that to them, obviously explain it to the marketing manager that, hey, we can do it, but it might be detrimental, and here's why. And here's a healthy balance between what you had perceived you want, and what's going to produce the best outcome. So they're the conversations that you need to have with clients to make sure that they're getting what they truly need out of a website.
That intention is important, as you said. And something that I was really thinking about as you were going through that is Wikipedia. I feel like that, depending on who you ask, obviously, I think about the school, the academic version of that, how a lot of our teachers, it wasn't really a credible source. They didn't want us on there. You better not use it in your bibliographies or citing your sources or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, whenever you were searching for something, Wikipedia was in that top 3, top 5 of your
Yeah.
results. You click the website, it's not the most visually appealing website at all. Very just black and white, even from the logo. But it gave you the information that you needed 9 times out of 10. So like you said, we just being people, students, whoever have you, we weren't assessing Wikipedia for how good it looks, how visual appealing it was it colorful, whatever the case may be. We were assessing it that if I typed in, hey, I need to know information about this that took place when, is it going to give me that? And it gave you that from top to bottom. So I think that that's such a great point too, because as you said, you have some customers and some clients and some industries where people are out of touch with all the AIs and the movements and the colors and the screens and everything kind of just coming at you at one time. Like that may just be too jarring or overwhelming for them. And for them, as you said, they may get to the website, read a couple of things, they don't really find what they're looking for. Okay, I'm going somewhere else. And it's not to even say that it's just a bad website, but it just wasn't, the message wasn't as clear as outright as they may have needed. I think that is so important. And it's important too to just know your industry and know your market. Yes, you may be a very creative person. You may love what you do. You may just have that very artistic mindset. But is that going to work for who you're trying to support? Is that going to work for the industry that you're in, for the niche that you're targeting? Which kind of begs my next question a little bit. And so with your agency, as you were building this, how did you decide who you wanted to target, what niche, what group, what community that you really wanted to help and assist with Uplift 360?
Yeah, it's sort of found me the niche. I always knew the power of niching. Working in marketing, it's a concept that a lot of us understand and promote. Certainly for smaller businesses, it's a way in which you can be seen to be an expert and become that expert in a certain field. So I knew the power of niching, but we were generalists initially. So I would just design anything and everything for everybody initially. And kind of that was a necessity starting out. But eventually what I realized was the majority of our better clients, not all, but a good portion of them were in the similar fields. So construction related, industrial brands, those sorts of things, trades. And so I realized, hey, the niche has found me to a large degree. They were the happiest clients. They were getting the best outcomes, and a happy client, happy business. And so, it just found me, and I realized, hey, we'll just double down on that without repelling our client base that had been. We've still got legacy clients, and we'll continue to serve them for years to come, hopefully, and that's fine. But we've grown in our expert knowledge and niche for the construction and industrial brands, because once you start to figure out what works for one customer in a certain industry, you quickly realize what's likely to work for the next customer. Now, every business and brand will be slightly nuanced and unique and so on, but you kind of get a sense of what's going to work quicker, so you can get some quick wins on the board, which is really helpful when you get a new client. If you can get some quick wins, then that trust and so on is built from there. So, it's been powerful. And sometimes people assume that I had some sort of trade or construction background. I didn't at all. I'm kind of useless at picking up a hammer, and I don't know what end of the screwdriver to hold. I'm useless at all that. So it's kind of funny. But for whatever reason, I resonate really well with those business people. The founder-led businesses, oftentimes, they're practical, pragmatic, down to earth. They want the job done. They're happy to delegate and take advice, and that's where we support them. So that's kind of how it works.
And sometimes really not having that bias to an industry or to a field, it helps you succeed even more. I think that oftentimes when you look at those people who they're experts in something, or this is kind of what they grew up, this was their life's passion, their life's work, they not necessarily say that they won't succeed or they won't be successful in what they do, but it could skew a little bit how you kind of go into business or what you do or what you look at, because you have a method, you have kind of a framework, you have a blueprint that you have already established. Whereas if you're somebody who kind of comes in with not all that expertise, you learn as you go. You may even just look at things from a different perspective. You may look at it. It may be easier for you to look at it from being a client, being a customer, and then kind of being on the other side of things as well. So I almost feel like that can work to an advantage too, of not having that skill, because even as you said, some people now think that because of how versed you are, because of all the possibilities and avenues that you've explored, oh, well, Wes, did you do this before? How do you know so much? Or how do you do what you do? But I think too, I like to think that the clients lead us and they teach us just the same, like in different
Yeah,
frameworks and however you establish. So
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I know the businesses from a marketing standpoint really well, and what they deliver to the end client, what the clients are looking to buy, customers are wanting to buy as an end result. But I just don't know necessarily how their tools operate and so on. So and it's kind of, to your point, it's kind of helpful not to know, because oftentimes a business, particularly when they try to do their own marketing, they'll get bogged down with the technical aspect of how they do the stuff, but no one really cares about how you do it. That's not really important. The customers are buying the outcome. So that's what you need to market to. And so it maybe, to your point, it's helpful not to get too stuck on the how do you operate these tools and machinery and so on, and just think about the outcomes.
absolutely right. I love that. Now, the I feel like the topic of conversation these days, just in life and business in the world, two letters, AI. So
Yeah.
when it comes to, I guess I'll ask this in two parts. When it comes to what you do specifically with Uplift 360, just being a business owner, just helping other people, just continuously building your agency, where does AI play a part in that? And then I guess my second part will be, and this I probably should have asked this first, but my second part will more so be, what was your stance on AI? I feel like prior to my year hiatus, I talk to a lot of different business owners and entrepreneurs and even my audience. And some people, there were just so many different, you had those people on one side of the spectrum that were like, okay, I don't know what this is. I feel like it's just right in front of me. I feel like a lot is kind of happening from your chat GPTs to your clouds, your Geminis, your copilots. I feel like it's just a lot of information kind of moving at one time. And I need to really just be able to process before I accept anything, I launch into anything. Then you kind of had those people that are just like, okay, I've been doing my research a little bit. I've been figuring some things out. I'm learning as I go. I'm testing, I'm entering prompts, I'm learning. And then you have those people that they just love it. They're all for it. They know that at the end of the day, AI is not going anywhere. We have to get with it or get lost. They're learning it. They're training the models. So where did you kind of fall on that spectrum? And how does it, I would say, resonate or relate to what you do with helping people within your agency?
Yeah, I think it's a powerful tool, and we're certainly applying it to a large degree to the way in which we operate our standard operating procedures and the software stack we use to produce, websites, for example. So those things have become more and more streamlined, and the difficult part is, you choose software opportunities that are the best options right now, but it feels like tomorrow there might be something even better. So that's the challenge of just the multitude of choices and how it's growing so fast. So we try and foresee and project what is likely to be the leader in the future as well. So the challenge with choosing any platform or software stack right now, if it's a small player, well, potentially it might be wiped out eventually. And where does that leave you in for the long term? So we're trying to future proof and ready ourselves for where things might go. That can be a difficult part, but certainly we're using AI to a large degree from the technical side of things to build the websites, to create content even for clients. But you've got to really be the thought leader with it, particularly, writing content. We don't necessarily trust what we read anymore, or we don't trust what we see, like videos. We see them of celebrities and so on that are long past. So we know they're not real, but they're so realistic. And so that's exciting, but also terrifying, because we know we can't trust what we see anymore. And then we think, well, how long has this stuff been around before we even knew? Over the last few years, before AI was in existence for the general population, were we being manipulated? So there's a big, massive erosion of trust, and that certainly affects marketing to a large degree. So it's my view that the role of marketing now it's less about tricks and strategies and so on, and it's more about building authority and trust and reputation and leveraging that, which you do for real life customers, making the most of that. So if you're getting great Google reviews, thinking about repurposing those, so you can embed them into your website, or you could repost things on social media. So leveraging the reputation and the things in which you can't artificially create too easily, because Google reviews, it's kind of difficult to fake them, nor should you try. Some people do. But anything that can't easily be manufactured or faked, I think they're the greatest signals that we can have. And the other point too, using AI, there's the potential for it to erode our authenticity and our own voice and our own messages. So I think no matter what tools you use, it's got to be your genuine thoughts, ideas, something of value that you're adding to the conversation. Because if you just lean upon the tool, let's say you want to write a blog post because you realize that helps with your Google rankings and so on, and maybe it surfaces in large language models as well. You might just jump on and ask for a blog post and then publish it. Well, it's just a collation of other people's thoughts and ideas put into something perceived to be new, but it's not really new. So there's no information gain. You've got to consider what's unique and new that you're adding to the conversation, thinking about the internet as a big, broad thing that's all interconnected. So the ways in which you can do that, you can certainly talk about things that only you can speak about. So real life case studies of projects you've worked on, photographs of what you've worked on. This is really incredibly important for the clients we work with, because they're building tangible things usually. So they're, that you can see them, you can photograph them, you can showcase them. It's obviously awesome if they're beautiful works, if they're building beautiful, dream homes for clients. But even if it's digging trenches, it's still a real substantial thing that they can publish, that only they can publish. because it was them who worked on a particular site. So, it's scary and challenging times right now to try and stand out and build that authority and trust simply because it's being eroded so fast. But you've got to do everything within your means to leverage AI to get stuff done faster. Yes, use it kind of like a microphone. This microphone here before me projects my voice through to you in the podcast and then to the audience globally. That's what AI can do. It can amplify your voice to the world, but it shouldn't be the voice. It should be an amplifier of your voice. So that's where I think people are going wrong sometimes, just relying upon the tool to do all the thinking, when realistic it needs to be is you as the founder of a business or someone working within a business.
Most definitely. I will definitely agree to your point that I feel like it's taken the authenticity out of things. It's taken that genuine nature out of things because naturally it can be a very creative tool. I will definitely agree. I've seen some things where it's just like, wow, I didn't really realize that this was what you could do with this when you put this tool to use. And I've seen some other things where it's just like it gets a bit more on that terrifying side, or it begs the question of how how detached are you or how attached are you to this? As you said, let it be. I love that example that you said, let it be the amplifier. Don't let it be the sole voice. At the end of the day, you're still you're still the person. You can just use this to your advantage. It's almost like, when you're using different, it makes me kind of think of like our Quizlets, or like when we were trying to get like the Spark Notes, and when you were trying to just get different tools or everything like that. You didn't necessarily want to copy and paste everything that you got from this, but you wanted to kind of use that as a guide to get you where you needed to be. So, and I think
Yeah.
that that's so important, because I do feel like that with as more companies, as more people, as more of the world is just starting to adopt this and move in this direction, it's really not going anywhere. It's not leaving us. And especially when it has
No.
proven to be able to help you automate, to be able to help make things easier. People are very much in their work smarter, not harder, or work more effectively. And I feel like AI can definitely do that, but don't just allow it to completely take over your business and do all that, because people will quickly realize that, okay, there's really no originality to this, or I can find a human to you still, at the end of the day, I feel like we still want that human to human interaction. You still want those reviews. You still want that feedback. You still want to be able to really talk to people face to face, virtual, or everything. You don't necessarily want everything to feel like robotic or monotone, or no emotion to it. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Another abbreviation for you, 3 letters this time. So we talked about the AI, but something that I feel like I've been seeing for quite some time, especially with my YouTube presence, SEO. I've had people reach out to me to tell me about SEO scores and what SEO should be doing. I've talked to certain people that say they don't really think it matters. I've talked to other people that they're very much gung-ho about it, and it does matter, and you should definitely be intentional and paying attention to it. For those people out there who are trying to fight against algorithms, or trying to appear in search results, or trying to, or are in different search engines and trying to optimize that all just the same, where does SEO fall? How important is it? What should people be doing to make sure that they're within the line of what's going on right now in the SEO world?
Yeah, it's for most businesses, it's really important. Like we touched on those companies who only work through tender, that's a different beast. But for the most of us, that we need to attract new business through online. And so there's search engine SEO is search engine optimization. So it's an attempt to show up in Google and other search engines as highly as you can for as many phrases as you possibly can that are obviously targeted to what you do. But it's not just search engines anymore. And the same principles that apply to search engine optimization apply to showing up in AI platforms as well. So that's the good news. If you do those things ethically, because realistically, all the tools are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to surface the very best information for someone having a conversation with a chat GPT or Googling. It's the same intent to surface the very best and specific information for that need. So that's the good news. Search engine optimization over the years, there's always been, because it's not always been as sophisticated as it is now. Now that we've got large language models and it understands the full context of sentences and so on, it does a really quality job of finding the best information. But over the years, there was different times where people could cheat their way to the top, and so there was these little tricks. It was called black hat SEO. So it's unethical things that you could do to manipulate search engines into giving you ranking you probably didn't deserve. Actually, just before this this podcast, I was watching a YouTube video. It hit my inbox, and I clicked the link of a probably what I would call an unethical SEO provider. And they were going through all the different strategies they'd used in the past that no longer work. And whilst that's sort of fine, they'd changed their strategies over the years. They were just explaining what's changing. It also reveals something that's potentially hazardous, because if you did an unethical SEO practice back a few years ago, whilst it might have worked at that time, eventually Google realized what you were doing, and they can penalize you. They can even completely blacklist you. And then what that means is you won't show up in their search engine at all for a number of months or even years sometimes if it's bad enough. And so to dig yourself out of that hole to earn the authority and trust back in Google's eyes, incredibly difficult. Some people are saying Google is not going to be as relevant as it has been in the past. And that's possibly true to a degree, because people are not needing to click through to websites to get information. They can get it at their fingertips on ChatGPT or whatever AI they want to use. But that information in AI is actually getting pulled from online sources, and it may as well be your website, and hopefully your brand will be recognized and mentioned. So whilst the information in your website might not show up and get as many clicks as it once did through Google, it still has the potential to bring customers in other ways. So that's the reason why you need quality content that's shareable as well, so other people resonate with it and likely to share it through social media platforms, for example. And that's kind of where it's going. So sometimes people over the years, I've been working in this industry for 20 years, and SEO wasn't really a thing at the start, but when it became a thing, there's always been these times where people have claimed that SEO is dead, but it's never been true. It's just that it evolves and it continues to get more and more sophisticated. So the safe play is always to do things ethically, to never try and cheat your way to the top. Earn your authority and trust and reputation, and that'll build for the long term. So the rug won't be pulled beneath your feet, in years to come. Sometimes people will outsource SEO blindly and not really realize what was happening behind the scenes, and all of a sudden they get a penalty. That's a horrible scenario. So you really got to be careful who you use and who you choose to use in these industries, and you can't just blindly leave people to do their work in SEO. You've got to really know how they're going about it.
And that's why I get so weary too with when these people reach out to me and they're just telling me that they can take me from 1,000 to 10,000 or 1 million, or they're sending me thousands of views. And I'm just like, instant gratification isn't always great. It's not always just that thing that you need. Yes, it may feel good in the moment. Yes, it may be something that it's like, wow, you went to bed and it was this, and then you wake up and it was like that. But then it also kind of begs the question, well, if it was that easy for you to do it, like what happened? Or was that like, and two, as you spoke to, as quick as you can get this, as quick as it can happen for you, is as quick as they can draw it back and it be taken away. And the penalty is going to hit a lot harsher than what the reward was or what that instant was. So no, I'm very much a firm believer in the ethical way has to go. It just can't be your way or the highway, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with corporations, you're dealing with legalities, you're dealing with contracts, you're dealing with things behind the scene that you don't even realize. And these companies, when we agree to terms and conditions, we don't always read the fine print. We just scroll up and down really quick, and we know that we want to use it. So we have to click agree, or we're not going to get permission. But sometimes you don't know what you're signing up for. You don't know what these companies have done to get their backing, because they've experienced things like this on a large scale. This is definitely not their first rodeo in situations like this. So it's always important to just keep it by the book, keep it cookie cutter. And even if sometimes if that requires a longer game plan, then that's all right. You want your business to have longevity. As Wes just spoke to, he's been in this for 20 plus years. But if he didn't do everything that he was supposed to do, he may be telling a different story. So it's just like, you have to also reap what you sow. And as long as you're being that faithful, that wise, that genuine, that authentic person, it'll always continue to happen. It's not going to always happen when you want it to, but it'll happen. So just stick with that. Now, as I spoke to in the beginning, we're clearly on two different sides of the world. Australia, you got me here in Washington, D.C., to be specific, in the U.S. Being that you are based in Australia, though, I think I would be naive, but I don't like to make assumptions. I would be naive to think that all your business is done just in Australia with the Australian businesses. Is that safe to say? Is that incorrect? Do you guys pretty much work all over?
No, probably the majority would be in Australia, but being niched to industries rather than location, that means we've got clients all around the world. You'll see in the on the homepage a bunch of brands that are global, so probably brands that are recognised around the world. Certainly because they're construction related industrial brands. Those that are in those fields will probably recognise the brand. Some of them are massive, and that's the benefit of niching, because you grow in your authority and knowledge for that thing, and so people around the world will find us and want to work with us. As a small business, you just don't get that if you're generalist. So yeah, serving all sorts. So happy to chat with anyone. Obviously, sometimes the calls can either be my early morning or later evening, and so on, and that's fine. That's all cool. I love to chat to people all around the world.
And we love that. We are definitely a very global and diverse audience. So that's good to know. I checked out the website. I knew what was going on, but I just needed to put that question out there just so that people know that this is not like you said, it's not, it may be industry specific, but we're not location specific. We don't discriminate in that regard. So I really do enjoy hearing that. Now, so the team. So you spoke to an amazing attribute of having your son being able to work with you one day out of the week. I think that that's amazing. Like I said, you've motivated me now. I'm bringing my little brother in soon, so we're just going to make that happen. But as far as the
Yeah.
team at Uplift 360, when people reach out, when people may kind of inquire about a consultation or wanting to work with you or needing your services, what can they expect? What does the team comprise of, and what is an experience like when it comes to working with you and your agency?
Yeah, so we're a small business, so all the client facing is through me. I'm the guy that people will talk to each and every time. And so the team, I got two teams, one in India and one in the Philippines. It was all, and then obviously my son with me here in Australia. So in Australia, it's myself and my son, and he's only one day a week. So, but the team's offshore. It's been a really great way. Initially, I had them all a bigger team in the Philippines. Now I have two smaller teams, one in India. It's been really a massive plus, simply because the slight different time zones mean that there's availability of people for things that sometimes need to happen later in the evening. You know, if there's an emergency, things can get resolved pretty quick. So someone can drop things and get onto an emergency scenario. You know, sometimes people will come to us and have their website hacked, for example, and so they find us, and we clean. You know, we need to get the logins, obviously, and then we can clean it up pretty fast. So those sorts of little advantages of having remote teams around the world. It's been really cool. It's the pros and cons, of course, with any way in which you structure a business. But yeah, initially I had team members here in Australia, but the way things move, there's obviously massive potential and opportunities and benefits having things offshore too.
We love growth, and I love that. And I think you spoke to a great point about just at all hours of the day, because it's nothing like, when somebody's having an issue, it's just the most important thing. This has to get done right now. Look, I need this. I need the attention. Forget the business hours. I need help now. I'm going through it. I'm panicking, especially if it's, your business or something that you have going on. I could only imagine being awakened in the middle of the night to something going wrong with down the business, and I wouldn't know where to go. I wouldn't know who to seek or what to go out to. So I love that you've
Yeah.
kind of been able to just build that and have that flexibility amongst different places, different time zones, and even different spaces. Now, when you spoke about growth and you spoke about massive potential. That's something that we love here on Down to Business. We love kind of catching people where they may be in their journey and then kind of following them along that journey and then seeing where they may go. But we also love the bigger picture things. So without spoiling anything, I definitely don't want to give away any secrets or any surprises or anything that you guys may be doing over there at Uplift 360. But I do just kind of want to give my audience some insight just the same. Is there anything that you guys are kind of looking to or looking forward to as we near the future, where we're basically halfway through the year at this point? Time is flying, but is there anything that you guys are looking forward to? Any clients, any projects, any new services or rollouts that you guys have upcoming?
Yes, certainly. So it'll be a gentle shift more and more toward the consulting side of the business, simply because the tech piece is becoming easier and easier. It's self-evident that eventually people will be able to do a lot of the tech piece themselves, and you won't need programmers. We've got really high-end level of programmers working with us. That piece obviously is going to diminish in its importance to the marketplace, and the consulting piece is going to become more and more important, the human side. So that's something I need to consider. So I'll play it out with me doing that side for the short term, but eventually it'll be hiring out people who can follow a similar process to what I do on the consulting piece, which will be a new set of challenges and new set of opportunities to grow personally as a leader. Because you can systemize so much of building a website from a technical standpoint, or the programming and the software and everything that you do and the processes, so everyone does the same thing. And I'm really diligent and big on standard operating procedures. But that knowledge piece is more difficult to systemize. So I see that piece becoming more and more valuable. So what I do, more and more valuable. So I need to find a way to be able to scale that piece, because I'm one person, and so I'm exploring and figuring out how I do that. And so there might be elements of, and it won't be this year, but it's something I perceive to be true, is eventually having mechanisms in which I can have a one to many approach with some of this stuff. So aspects of having a broad range of people listening in on a particular topic or scenario, but then having it applied practically, tangibly, through other means as well. So I'm figuring that out, but it's exciting. It's exciting for sure to, been running a business a certain way for a long time now, but to see the shifts, it's keeping me on my toes. I think it's going to be good.
I think it's going to be great. Even the fact that you're recognizing that things are not always going to stay the same. The same way we adopt to AI, to SEO, to ever changing laws and rules of business, to location, to government, to wherever we are, is the same way you have to do so in business. To stay on that one track mind, to stay just so monotone and bland, it could put you out of business almost. So you have to really, I've talked to so many different business owners who 30 years ago, they wouldn't have envisioned what things look like. 40 years ago, they wouldn't have envisioned what things look like today. But instead of allowing that to turn them off or deter them from moving forward, they just adjusted. They learned a little bit. They had to put in that extra time on the back end, and they definitely did that for the success of the business, for the love of the game. So I love just to hear where your mindset is, where you're going, and I think that is going to be amazing. I'm excited to see the progress for sure. Now, I definitely don't want to wrap things up just quite yet, but I do just want to give my audience just some insights, some reminders, just the same. So we've discussed a lot today, from just bigger picture to the build out, to where you are, to what you were thinking, to what you do, to your niche, to everything of the sort like that. Do you feel like there's anything that we haven't touched on, or even any words of encouragement or uplift that you may want to leave for my audience, for my viewers out there?
Yeah, well, I think the goal is, no matter what part of the journey you're on, is to think about what's the next practical step you can take to move yourself forward. Because if you just have the end goal in mind, it's so difficult to figure out the pieces of the puzzle that take you to that end goal. Typically we have a good understanding where we are right now. We're in that moment, and we have an idea and an understanding, if we're visionary, of what things should be. But getting there, that's the difficult part, because it's sometimes unclear and we don't know precisely what's around the corner. So I would say, just think about incremental improvement. What's going to take you a little bit closer today, or just think about it even weekly and monthly, potentially yearly, but smaller size chunks in which you can cope with and you can handle, and you can actually do something. As you're starting to build momentum, things will evolve and take shape, and you can correct course a little bit if you need to. But if you just stay stagnant waiting for things to happen, nothing will happen.
Could we have picked a better debut episode, y'all, for the pod for a year? am not recording. This is just, it's motivated me. I already came into this episode very just motivated. Just I was happy. I was hyped. I was telling Wes before we hit record. It's just like I'm here. I was even a little nervous at the beginning, if y'all couldn't really tell, but it was just more so me just trying to get my bearings back. And it's just such good energy. But I really just love that message because I feel like we get so many people here, whether they're guests, whether they're audience, whether they're just supporters. I've talked to so many people at so many different places in their journey. We started back in 2019, so arguably on kind of like the front portion of COVID, and we worked through 2020, and we did all of that. So I've watched people go out of business. I've watched people think about business. I've watched people sit on things. I've watched people have massive success. I've watched people go through the ups and the downs, the hills and the valleys. So I feel like everything that we've talked about today, everything that you even just put in your last reply, it can resonate with somebody. And I'm just hopeful, and I'm just, I'm just very just grateful, one, for you just taking the time to join my platform to be here with me today. But I'm just hopeful that that speaks to somebody, and that somebody just takes that extra step or just realizes that everything doesn't have to be perfect. We're here, we're adjusting, we're evolving, we're adapting. As Wes spoke about, as I even kind of highlighted, he didn't have it all figured out when he got here. He still doesn't have it all figured out, but he's making it happen. He's building the team. He's thinking bigger picture. He's helping people. He's uplifting those business wise and personal wise. And so I think that that's really the name of the game. So before we officially wrap things up, can you please just let my audience know, let everybody know who may be hearing this episode, the best places to contact you, to reach you, website, social media? Give us everything that you got.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share that. But firstly, I'd just like to say, if anyone's listened this far, obviously you found the content engaging. So give it a like and a share. And there might be someone actually that comes to mind that you think will benefit. Share them specifically to them, but I'll obviously give it a general like and a share and everything as well where you can. But yeah, so to connect with me, uplift360.com.au is the website. And from there, you can book a strategy call with me. And as we said before, we work with people all around the world, so there's no problem. The calendar's quite wide open, so you should find a time slot that suits you. And there's social media links and so on the website as well. In the footer, you'll find all the links as well, so you can connect in any platform you choose to do so.
Amazing. All right. Look, we love when people not only come on here and just provide the gems. They just provide the value. They just provide the insight. But please take advantage of these business owners, these entrepreneurs, these veterans when they're offering themselves as a resource. That's not something that you get every day. We love that personable aspect. We love just to know that we're talking to Wes, where we're getting that real-time interaction. We're getting that real help. We can really connect with him if we need to. So look, please just don't take that for granted. But Wes, from me to you, from Down to Business to Uplift 360, thank you so much for everything that you've done, for connecting with me, for the responsiveness, for the quick turnaround. Just thank you for the energy. It's going on 8 p.m. here, and I'm feeling good. It doesn't even feel like I had to work today. I'm feeling great. It doesn't feel like my alarm was off at 4:45 in the morning this morning. I'm feeling really good. So I thank you for just, I thank you for, one, everything that you're doing both locally and both globally. And two, I thank you for the value that you just came on here to provide to my audience. And as he said, if there's something that resonated with you, if someone came to mind, if something came to mind, don't hesitate to act on it. Don't hesitate to share it. Don't hesitate to reach out to myself, to Wes. We're here to help however we can. So look, to all my longtime supporters, to all the veterans, to all the people who just are coming along from this for the first time, for the people who may be coming from Wes's side, look, I thank y'all. We are far from finished. I love y'all. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner.